Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 meeting of the Martinsville Common Council. Meeting is hereby called to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bill Deckard second. Bill Deckard Senior.
Present.
Ann Miller.
Present.
Josh Farron.
Present.
Ben Mahan.
Present.
Susie Lips.
Present.
John Badger.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, I would like to invite Pastor Nathan Crow from Eastern Christian Church to come and give tonight's invocation that he would remain standing for pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we come to you today and thank you so much for the blessings that you've given us, Lord. Thank you, Father, for the promise of your presence and the promise of your guidance when we turn to you and seek you. And Lord, we just ask that blessing now on this meeting, not just this meeting, but on the city, on our entire area, and just for just that all will be well to truly show people ways that are right, to show people how to live, and to really do great things that will make an impact in their lives. Thank you so much, Father, for what you give us. Thank you for your love, and thank you for your Son. In his name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Nathan. You each received the minutes from the Monday, October 28th meeting. Are there any additions, corrections to those minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
A second.
Been a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Abstain.
Motion passes with one abstention.
And Councilman Decker, it's nice to see you back. I know you're glad to be back too. We have some, I want to read something, it's very important. This will be on our website later this evening. Correct, ma'am?
We submitted it.
Okay. This is regarding our water utility, lead and copper rule changes. For the last several years, the EPA has been revising the rules regarding lead and copper in our nation's water infrastructure. On October the 8th, 2024, EPA announced the final lead and copper rule improvements, otherwise known as LCRI. Under the LCRI, drinking water systems will be required to proactively replace lead service lines within 10 years. This includes the service line from the main to the meter and from the meter to the front wall of the home. We completed the lead and copper inventory of our system early last month in October and submitted that to IDEM and the EPA. It is important to note that every system in the entire country is facing these same rule changes and increased effort to identify and remove lead pipes. We are not alone in this effort. Of the roughly 4,700 service connections in our system, 756 have been categorized as non-lead and will need no further action. 5 service lines were categorized as lead. It is important to note that these were reported by those 5 customers as lead. However, we doubt that actually are lead, and they will be verified through ongoing inventory investigation efforts. 51 have been categorized as galvanized, requiring replacement, and will eventually require replacement per the new rule. 3,812 are categorized as unknown and will require further investigation to identify such as digging or more customer surveys. The most recent communications we have received from IDEM has informed us that systems will have 3 years to prove out these unknown service lines. Also, as part of the new rule changes, every water system in the country is now required to send out annual notices to any customers whose service line is categorized as either lead, galvanized, requiring replacement, or unknown. The timeline requirement for these annual notices are as follows. Within 30 days of submitting your service line inventory to the EPA, no later than November 15, 2024. Annually by December 31st, until the service line is confirmed to be non-lead. We will continue to work to identify unknowns as time goes by, thereby reducing the number of annual notices that will go out. This will be a huge undertaking and is contingent on continual cooperation and financial support from the state and federal government. So we have a letter that is going to be going out. Just want to give you a heads up on this. And that's basically everything we know at this point. Okay? And we'll get something to the paper and to the radio. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Mayor, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, good evening, council. Just want to give you a quick report on some recent activities in our office. October 7th through the 10th, I was able to participate in AIM Idea Summit in Fort Wayne. Part of that was fulfilling my duties as president of the Title VI ADA coordinators for the state of Indiana. We were able to host a couple of training sessions with NDOT and all the coordinators throughout the state, and also making sure that they are in compliance with state requirements, as we are currently working on. Also, the budget for 2025 has been submitted to the DLGF for their review. As soon as we get confirmation on their approval, I will report back to all of you on that. And then we have updated the monthly reports to our website. Those include monthly updates on the budget, where we're at, also on interest that we've been able to accrue throughout the year. So those are always active on the website. And another change that directly affects everyone in this room is we are in the process of changing our camera live stream system. We're in the process of getting ready for the requirements by the state to have all of our public meetings live streamed in July of next year. So the cameras have moved. So if you look at the exit sign in the back, the camera is actually right underneath the exit sign. So if the red light is on, we are, that means the camera is on. So we are starting the camera about 3 minutes prior to the meeting. Our microphones are not on until we start, but just to make you all aware, we are starting that 3 minutes prior, just so it, if we have any buffering issues or anything like that, that way we have a little bit of time to deal with those. So we are still having little hiccups as is expected with any type of new technology, but so far that transition's gone pretty well. Another thing that we are working on is year-end projects. We are working with all the different departments. Our hope is to present to the council a newsletter from each department with the accomplishments and projects that they've either started or completed for the year 2024. So if anyone from the council has anything that you would like us to include, please email me so we can include that in the newsletter. It is going to be pretty substantial, just from all the different activities from the departments. So. And then lastly, you'll see this change tonight with your claims docket. So as part of our transition to our new accounting software, we now have multiple dockets that will be in. So you're going to have your docket that says miscellaneous and then a normal docket. So it's the same number of claims, it's the same process, just with this transition, it requires us to create different batches. So unfortunately for you all, you have more things to sign. But I just wanted you to be aware of why that transition is taking place. You'll see the dockets, one will say miscellaneous. What that entails is anything that has a contract or prior agreement. So it doesn't technically require council approval, but we are still presenting that to you for your review and signatures. And then you will have what is your normal docket in there also. So unfortunately, that means you're going to get multiple dockets every meeting for the next 10 to 11 months. So that's not a permanent change. Once we make the transition to our new software permanent, then that will go back down. But as we're in the process of switching, that's going to be something that we'll have for a short period of time. So just wanted you to be aware of that. So happy to answer any questions if you have any. I know to that very quickly. Thank you.
If there's no questions for him tonight, he will be at the clerk treasurer's office tomorrow. We have a firefighter we're going to swear tonight, so Deputy Chief Fraker.
Tonight we're going to be swearing in David Gilkerson, who comes from Brown Township Fire Department, 22 years of service. He's starting over fresh, but he's got all the wisdom with the gray hairs, so we're going to be all right. He died, it looks like. And we'll mustache.
What I want to do is okay, if you will raise your right hand, raise your left hand, repeat after me. I, David Gilkerson.
I, David Gilkerson,
Do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the ordinances, policies, and resolutions
and the ordinance, policies, and resolutions
of the City of
of
Martinsville,
the City of Martinsville,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and
uphold
fully uphold
and discharge my duties
and discharge my duties
and responsibilities
and responsibilities
as a firefighter
as a firefighter
for the City of Martinsville Fire Department
for the City of Martinsville Fire Department,
to the best of my skill and ability,
to the best of my skill and ability,
according to law,
according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you, and tonight we need to conduct 2 public hearings. So without objection, the council will be in recess for the purpose of conducting these hearings. The first one is a general obligation appropriation bond. Mr. Colin Cochran from Bose, McKinney, and Evans is going to come and share some information.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Colin Cochran with Bose, McKinney, and Evans, who are serving as bond counsel on this transaction. The 2 ordinances that are up for public hearing are authorizing up to $670,000 in general obligation bonds to not only allow the city to maintain its current property tax rate, but also fund various public municipal improvements, street salt, sanders, flatbed truck, police vehicles, and some other various improvements. The bonds themselves will be just a 1-year obligation that will mature December 31st, 2025, so just a one-year deal. And our plan of finances, we'll take this back to council for adoption at the November 25th meeting. We'll be soliciting bids ahead of that. We'll use Stiefel as our placement agent to try to find some bid purchasers. And if adopted on the 25th, we'll look to close on December 13th. Peter Franklin serves as the city's municipal advisor, and if there's any questions on the ordinances, please let me know.
Are there any questions from the council for Colin on this matter? Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment in regards to this matter this evening? If not, then we will close the public hearing on this matter, and without objection, we'll open up the next public hearing in regards to the assurance of the general obligation bond. Colin, do you have anything fuller?
No,
in regards to that?
The description that cover both the ordinances and both public hearings.
Okay. Again, any questions for Mr. Cochran? Anyone from the public making comments at this time? No one coming forward, then we will close the public hearing on this ordinance, and without objection, we will go back into our council meeting. First item on the agenda tonight would be the first reading of the general obligation appropriation bond, which Mr. Cochran talked and discussed. Are there any questions? Again, since this is a first reading, no action will be required until the Monday, November 28th meeting. Second item on the agenda is the first reading of ordinance 2024-2092, the assurance of the general obligation bonds. Again, this is a first reading, no action will be required. We'll bring it back up for a second reading at our next meeting, November 28th.
I'm sorry, that should be November 25th, I believe.
Well, I think it is 25th, I'm sorry. 20th and then Thanksgiving. I'm just getting anxious. We have this third thing on the agenda tonight is the second reading and consideration of compliance with Americans with Disabilities Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. That's a lot to say.
Stuck with me again. So tonight's the second reading for the compliance report on the Disabilities Act in Section 504. This is a requirement from NDOT. Really nothing different from the first reading. I will still be serving as ADA coordinator with this current draft. And then also just kind of walks through the grievance procedures and other various things that should be included. So.
Any questions for Mr. Meredith this time?
I make a motion that we approve the compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973.
I second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the compliance with Americans with Disabilities Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The next on the agenda is the second reading and consideration of ordinance 2024-1895, amendment to city zoning ordinance regarding signs and advertising structures. Mr. Coffin.
As the council knows, we had a first reading on this ordinance last meeting, which was the 28th of October. This was an ordinance that came out of the Plan Commission. It was an effort to update our current sign ordinance to comply basically with federal laws that have come down, and also bring into compliance with First Amendment issues. And the Planning Commission moved this to the council with a favorable recommendation. I believe it was unanimous. So this is the second reading here this evening of this ordinance. I know that last meeting we had our consultant that had been working with both the Planning Commission and also a citizen committee that had been appointed to consider changes to the sign ordinance. I know they spent quite a bit of time going through our current ordinance as well as other drafts from other municipalities around central Indiana and maybe the state. He had explained kind of the ordinance of this and the fact that it is not regulating free speech in any regard. And there are certain signs that it is regulating, other signs that it is not. And he went through that explanation at our meeting on the 28th. So again, this is for you tonight for a second reading.
And we do also have Mr. Mike Kirsch, who is on that citizens committee. Mike, is there anything you want to present to the council?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just wanted to kind of go over a couple of things with this new ordinance that we're looking at for the Planning Commission. First of all, I'd like to give you a brief history of how this ordinance came about. Back in 2015, 2016, I was serving on the Planning Commission and the BZA, and the city received numerous complaints about signs that were in violation of the existing ordinance. At that time, we looked at the existing ordinance and decided that we needed to do some updating on it. I was part of the citizen group at that time. We spent probably a year and a half preparing an inventory of all the signs in the town, and we put together a document that we felt was a pretty good document to bring to the Planning Commission. At that time, the Planning Commission heard the new ordinance one time in the draft stage, and then it was put back on the shelf, and that was the last we talked about it. So fast forward all the way up into 2023. At that time, I was one of probably a dozen other people that started complaining about the signs that were being placed in the roundabouts, on the state right-of-way, on the county right-of-way, on the city right-of-way. And I was told by the county planning commission that most of the stuff I was complaining about was in the city jurisdiction. So when I talked to the city about that, they said, yes, we've had a lot of complaints about this, and we are going to be putting together something after the election during the next year. So then the company was contacted by the city to start putting a document together. I was part of the group that was reviewing the document and reviewing it to see how it compared to our existing document, and had a lot of input on it. So the document itself was looked at and revised 3 times, I believe, and at the last revision, it was sent out and everybody said, yeah, we're happy with this. At that time, the decision was made to go ahead and get it into the planning department's hands so they could review it. The planning department really went, I think they spent one night reviewing it. I don't know if they had multiple discussions, but it went through the planning department really fast. So the document that you received to look at is more or less the draft document that we were working on through the summer. The document is really good when you compare it to the original document. It provides for a lot more flexibility. I'll go through just some of the things that it adds just to kind of help you. The new ordinance will allow for a lot more exempt signs, going from 7 exempt signs to 23 exempt signs. The new document adds and defines the permitting process, which that's a really important tool for the administration to go to work with that, especially the building department. This document will add a provision for entrance signs. A lot of companies that are under construction need to have some sort of signage during the process of, getting their building completed, their business completed, before they get their permanent sign in place. This new ordinance also adds and defines limitations and maintenance to the signs that they're within the city limits. Now, it also defines sign types and locations in all districts. The tables are far more easier to read than the existing ordinance. In the last couple of days, I've reached out to every one of the council members except for Susie. My phone number for you is not good. Most of you I had a chance to talk to, and we had some really good discussion about how you felt about the ordinance. And it was really good feedback for me, and you guys probably talked amongst yourselves a little bit. So what I would like to do is see if there's any more questions that the council has tonight, because there's a lot of questions that members of the council brought up that I couldn't answer. And I want to see if there's any more questions that maybe we can get out tonight and maybe find some answers for that. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Well, I'm glad. Now, the one thing I do know about this ordinance, after talking with the council members, this is a really well-crafted ordinance, but it is not perfect. There's still some things that need to be worked out, some details that need to be ironed out. This is a great tool, but it has to be something that'll stand up in court. So if there's some issues in it, we need to get those worked out before it is put into a final draft phase to be approved by the council. So in talking with many of the members of the council, I got a pretty good feeling that they really would like to see a little bit more input into this document. And if that's the case, it would be my suggestion that the council suggest tabling this and sending it back to the planning commission for review with a committee to be comprised of members of the council also, so that they can give their concerns and thoughts to the group as a whole.
Any comments from the council in regards to what's been presented to you?
But that's it. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mayor, being part of the planning commission, being part of the meeting, we recognize the proliferation of more and more signs every day that are out there. The document is well crafted. I think the thing you'll like the most about it is the illustrations, rather than everything being in verbiage. There's a drawing, there's a picture that explains what they're talking about. So I'd encourage you to continue to have input for this and bring that up to the planning commission.
Gary, if we pass this document tonight, how many businesses would be in violation of this ordinance?
How many weeks, what bit?
How many businesses would be in violation, like their signs or signage that's existing currently in Martinsville?
How many weeks did we work on this total?
No, how many businesses would be in violation?
How many businesses in violation?
How many
If
current
I-
signs and structures that are out there currently wouldn't meet the standards by this document?
If I were to estimate, not very many, I'd say under 10. And none of those would be significant if somebody had to make an expensive change to it.
Now, to clarify that, are you talking about signs or like we were talking about temporary signs?
I was just concerned with the cost to the business owner if we were to pass this, what kind of.
This doesn't impact what we call monument signs or post signs. Nothing changed. So none of those would be impacted. None of the signs that are attached to any business would be impacted.
have your yard service done by JoJo, have your trees cut by X by. I mean, those are literally everywhere now. And then we see those that are most offensive to us that are actually in the right of way. They're portable signs, they're put in the right of way, they're in the wrong place. That doesn't mean they cannot exist anymore. They just need to be placed properly.
Do we have an existing ordinance about placing objects in the right of way?
You want me to fill that question?
Yep, sure.
Give me a minute here. Okay, give me a second to get that information for you. So that was a good question. So, under our current ordinance, the minimum setback for freestanding signs from street right-of-way shall be not less than those given in the following table measured from the nearest edge of the sign. And then we have a table right here that defines that. And basically the table says that a sign that's 12 square feet or less, the minimum setback from the right-of-way is 5 feet. 12.1 to 50 square feet is 10 feet back from the right-of-way. 50.1 to 128 square feet is 20 feet from the right-of-way. And 128.1 to 256 feet is 50 feet back from the right-of-way.
So who's supposed to be monitoring that current ordinance?
I'll defer to,
We have code enforcement, so it'll be in the building department, code enforcement, they're the ones that will enforce it.
So if we have a current ordinance and people aren't following it, why don't we just ask?
Well, the language, Susie, we got in trouble because the language in our current ordinance, the descriptions, Dale, help me out here. It's, I believe, the descriptions, the language that we use to describe the signs was against a Supreme Court ruling.
Well, you're talking about a couple different issues. So one, I think what Susie's asking is, if it's in violation, a distance to right of way, do we have the ability right now to enforce it and to take the sign away? Yes, we do. Okay. It all goes down to like anything else. It's manpower. It's actually someone pointing out to us, hey, look, we believe this sign is against your ordinance, and then we can take action. So we do have that ability currently. Mac brings up another good point, though. Other parts of our current ordinance are susceptible to possible challenge because of constitutional issues. And so that was one thing that we tried to address in this current draft, in staying away from anything that would get us awry of the Constitution and as far as free speech. So we believe we've accomplished that by its current draft. There may be other questions, though, that Mr. Kirsch has gathered from talking with you folks. And so I think it's a good idea to look at it again from a planning commission committee as well as maybe a few councilmen on that same committee so that you can have those things addressed and answered and feel more comfortable with what we're doing.
Thank you.
And just so you understand what right-of-way is, and I think most of you do, but most of our streets, the right-of-way is either 25 to 30 feet from center of the road. That's the right-of-way. And then the way the current ordinance is written, then there's additional space beyond that edge of where you can place a sign. I think the new ordinance, the way it's written, it's a little clearer and easier to understand.
I always hate it when there's silence, so I'm gonna think out loud here. Would there be a consideration, Mike, you've been on this 2 rounds now, would there be a consideration to, let's send this back to the planning commission, ask them to form a subcommittee, maybe made up of 3 from down with Mike and Mr. Johnson that was here last night and iron a few things out and come back in February or March. Somebody wants to do anything in December, let's face that fact. But is that something that would be reasonable for consideration?
I'd like to see it tabled and that happen, yes. You need a motion for that?
How should we handle, should we?
Yeah, probably the motion to do that, yes.
And I move we table this and appoint some of us on the, that you have it. And we would hear it firsthand from those who got the ordinances in place, so we understand them better. And I'd like to wait till after Christmas to do that.
Yeah, you can't you start tonight. So, motion on the floor would be to table this until February or March meeting, send this back to the Plan Commission to have a subcommittee formed, possibly through you and the council, to discuss with Mr. Kirsch and Mr. Johnson. Is that accurate, John?
Yes.
Is there a second? If there's on the second, then the motion will die. So then,
I'll second it.
okay, motion made and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, no.
No.
It's 3-2, isn't it? So, where do you go from here, Mr. Parliamentarian?
I can see if it's a roll call.
Let's do a roll call on it.
So then we know if it passes or not.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Phil Davis Senior.
Would you repeat the motion, please?
The motion is to table the ordinance till March or February, March of 2025, and send it back to Planning Commission for reconsideration and formation of a subcommittee that includes 3 council members, Mr. Kirsch, Mr. Johnson, and the Planning Commission.
I don't feel that would be enough time. I'd have to vote no.
Ann Miller,
No.
Josh Barron,
No.
Ben Mahan,
Yes.
Susie Lips,
Yes.
John Badger,
Yes.
3-3.
3-3, so I would cast the deciding vote in this situation,
Yes, sir.
and I vote yes.
Motion passes.
And also to state that if it's not ironed out, that we can always extend it later. We have to go, past March.
Mr. Mayor, without specific direction of the Plan Commission, that's a very difficult task. You've asked volunteers to take on that.
Well,
I believe that's why, as members of the Plan Commission, some of them voted no, because there's no direction.
okay, the direction would be for 3 council members to volunteer to be on the subcommittee and to work with Mr. Kirsch and Mr. Johnson and come back with a revised ordinance that would be first presented to the Plan Commission for approval, then back to the council for final approval. Is that enough direction?
Well, I believe the question is, what do they ask to revise? What is problematic with what they have seen?
They're gonna go through it from scratch.
Yeah,
Three volunteers.
yeah, Gary, to answer that question, there were some legitimate concerns that I think that the committee, the council that if the members that are volunteering to be on the board, they've got specific problems that they would like to be addressed. And I don't think that those questions are hard to address. I think they need to be thought out and ironed out. I think that we're 99% there, 95%, and the smallest parts that we need to work out is the devil that's in the details. And I think that with the Plan Commission, maybe one or two other citizens out there in the council, I think that it could be looked at one more time with Brad's assistance and iron out the details. There were some questions about some of the wording in the definitions that we want to look at. And then there were some other things, and then there's a couple of things that we're going to have to work with the city about that we'll just have to get some answers. So it'll probably be better to, also good to have somebody from the city staff on board.
So we also, one of the things that I'm concerned about, and I hear Mr. Colby say there's some things that constitutional wise may be questionable. We want to make sure those are addressed.
Yes, yes. And there's just a couple things in there, just a little subjective, that I think we need to take out the subjectivity of the text and just look and see if there's ways that we don't really need to rewrite a lot of things. I think we just need to tweak them at this point and make sure that legally, if we were to be challenged, that we could defend it without any issues.
And I won't ask for volunteers tonight since we're not looking to do anything until possibly January or February. But the next meeting I'll be asking if we can have 3 volunteers. And I'm not sure, since Ann's on the planning commission as the council's appointee, should she be on that or not be on? Because we can't have more than 3 council people. So again, something we'll think about for the next meeting.
But if we have an existing ordinance that does give us some stipulations, why can't between now and February, we try monitoring it, and whoever it is that's supposed to go out and check these things, if something has been, the city's been alerted to a sign that's in a wrong place on a roundabout or something, that we try to take care of it. And maybe if we made an aggressive effort, that some of these things would disseminate, kind of go away.
Yeah.
We could take care of it ourselves by using our current ordinance and by the manpower that we do have, addressing the issues that have been brought to the front burner, try to take care of it, and then it wouldn't just still be hovering and maybe wouldn't be a big problem.
I agree.
I think the ordinance needs,
Yeah.
the existing one is not very clear. I mean, they're correct in that. This is,
So it's one thing towards, I hate to keep going back and forth, but Susie, one thing I would like to say is probably the first time you get a complaint about a sign that's illegally placed, whoever you're complaining about is going to tell the city, they're not doing anything about it until this other illegal sign is dealt with. And it's going to turn into that type of an issue. So it's going to be something that it would be great if we could go back in time and permit things as they came up, deny permits for things that are not correct, and try to be ahead of this, but we're way behind. So whether or not we have a new ordinance in the middle of next year, we're still going to have the same problem if we don't figure out how we're going to fight it. So I think doing the proper steps, like you said, getting out ahead of it and trying to do something, we just need to be prepared for the fallout.
Well, I think I've read most of it over. I mean, manpower isn't really addressed in the ordinance. And that sounds like that's a layer that, we need to address
Yeah.
if we're going to instate something different than what we're doing.
And part of the manpower and just like part of the fines and fees and the permit costs, it's defined elsewhere in the ordinance. But the manpower thing is something that I don't believe we got it 100% wrapped up in. And I'm just speaking without, being wrong on that part of it, but I do know that that is going to be the challenge. Yeah.
And I will take some responsibility and blame for things not being done in the last 6-7 months because we knew we were working on this, so we just kind of let a lot of things slide, unfortunately. But we will start looking at the signs that are in our right of ways and we'll be reading them. But that's on me. Okay, well, thank you, council. Next on the agenda, Mr. Oaks, the subrecipient agreement. You want to explain what we have here?
We have an opportunity with the county commissioners. There's ARPA funds left that they had from the original monies they received. That was in the amount of $1.5 million. We have proposed to them 2 sewer utility projects that we would like to accomplish to expand our city capabilities and the services we carry. First of these would be the Faith Church property we took underneath I-69 a year ago. Water and sewer underneath there. We have an opportunity to take it farther to the east at this point. There we have a willing seller there for 69 acres of ground. Highly developable. It's pretty flat ground, so it's worthwhile for us to see that possibility exist. The county can take a share of that, so there's $1.5 million. The other second project is taking service to the south, basically from Southview down to Liberty Church Road. We have water all that way south. We go farther south than that. We go into the North Street down there. So by taking the sewer service to the south, what you always look at development is being shovel-ready. Somebody doesn't want to wait to know when you can put something in. They want it to be there ready. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with this. So we're asking your approval and accepting the subrecipient grant in the amount of $1.5 million to the county. We would share in that in the tune of roughly $4 million to carry out both of those projects. So that's what we're looking at for the future. Questions?
And I think it needs to be noted, these properties are in the city limits.
These properties are, okay.
It's great to see the city and county cooperating together. This is a big step forward. We've done that the last 4 years, 5 years, and we continue to do that.
Any questions for Mr. Oaks?
So when you say shovel-ready, you mean like putting sewers all the way down to Liberty Church that would entice businesses to come because they have water and sewer?
To the south, they have water only now.
Right,
Our sewage treatment plant's on the south side of town.
right.
It only makes sense to extend that opportunity down to the south. If you look at the vast acreage that's available to that potential sewer center area, that's great. A great deal of that is still county property. Some of it is city property that would extend so it's possible all the way down through there. We have to come underneath I-69, underneath Indian Creek, and reach to that property, carry down through there. Primary line would run down Jordan Road.
Would this money cover the full amount to?
Our portion of it would come from a bond. We're doing a bond that's going to do some sewer lining projects in this project.
How many outstanding bonds does the city have right now?
They got that, Mr. Ben.
Just for clarification, the bond that Gary's talking about is a sewer utility bond. So we are in the process of paying off our current sewer utility bond, so it would be a replacement for that bond. So right now, currently you have one sewer bond that will be paying off December 31st of this year. So you also have 2 water bonds, a park bond, RDC has 3 bonds, and then we have currently 2 general obligation bonds.
So that's a total of how many bonds, the city?
Right at 9.
I'm sorry?
Right at 9.
9. Is that comparable to a municipality of our size?
That varies drastically. I mean, you have some that'll do bigger bonds, smaller number of bonds, but bigger volume. You could do a larger bond for $20 million, and that's one bond. We have, your park bond, you have $231,000 left from the park bond, so it's a small bond, really. They go bond that was presented to the jury tonight is $670,000, I believe, bond. It's a one-year bond, so again, it's pretty small as far as monetary is concerned. So that's a tough one to answer. You have some municipalities that have a lot more bonds out there, a lot that have a lot fewer bonds than we do, but bigger money. So it's all regulated by DLGF, so you have to have a percentage of reserves on hand to pay for them. They won't allow you to get over bonded.
So you're advising that we're being financially prudent by
Yes,
approving
on this project, my recommendation would be to proceed. I think this is a very good opportunity. You have a sewer bond that's coming offline. It makes sense to replace it, and this is a good infrastructure type project that would set us up for the next 20 years. As far as the rates are concerned, it would be a rate neutral to all the utility customers, so that would be my recommendation, would be to approve.
So how long would this bond be?
That I don't know. We've just begun the process of doing the bond. I'm not sure how long off the top of my head.
But it would help more customers come into our water and sewer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they would be able to hook on in those areas where right now they could not.
Okay.
Susie, all the sewers that we're laying, we did 32,000 linear feet the first time.
Yeah.
And we're doing a slug this next time. That is money in the bank, because when we line the sewers, we're cutting down on the infiltration of water that we end up in the wastewater treatment plant that we have to treat. So every time we do lining, we regain capacity in the wastewater treatment plant. We're extending the life without having to spend a ton of money. We have gone from 58% capacity, we're now at around 50 or 51%. So we have gained capacity by doing what we're doing, and we're going to gain more capacity by continuing the line, and then we make the sewers like new. So it's work that's not always real popular because you don't see it, it's underground, but it pays dividends.
And it prevents you from having to expand your wastewater treatment plant, which is very expensive now. So as we have more capacity now than we had 5 years ago, and we'll add to that again by reducing infiltration of stormwater that comes into your system. And it was helped by when INDOT did the lines were parallel to 39 and 69, but the sewer lining we did again last year, you could immediately see the effect of. So it behooves us to move forward in that direction.
Any other questions for Mr. Oaks? I would entertain a motion regarding the subrecipient agreement.
I make a motion that we accept sub-recipient agreement for the ARPA funds between the county and the city.
Second.
A motion is made and seconded to approve the agreement for the ARPA funds between the county and the city. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. You were given copies of the claims review prior to tonight's meeting. Are there any comments or questions regarding the claims?
I have a couple of questions. To the fire department, the $11,137 amount, the $11,000 that was paid to WIDA collision, what was that for?
That was
That was a pay for it.
I'm sorry?
And one of our apparatuses got in a wreck,
Okay,
so that was to fix it.
okay.
We did receive a check back from the insurance company that was right at $1,000 less than that. So really our net cost was $1,000.
Okay. And then for the street department, the $58,000 for the installation of the pole barn? Okay. So is that, God, that seems like a lot.
The building is 70 feet wide and 170 feet 12,000 plus square feet. So, not too bad, actually.
Was that put on a bid, was that put on a bid?
Everything's put on there, yes.
Other questions I have?
Then I would entertain a motion regarding the claims.
Move to accept the claims.
Second.
Motion made, saying that approve the claims presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. Any comments from the council this evening?
Yes, I have one. I love the new blue roof on the police department, with the red roof, with the fire station, and the blue roof coming down Morgan Street. Either way, it just looks like Martinsville. The red and blue is awesome. So, great idea, whoever did that. And I think it's the neatest thing we've got going right now, so awesome. Thank you.
I will let Detective Hobson know that was his idea, so. And Gary, you want to give an update real quick, where we're at on police headquarters?
The police headquarters?
Yeah.
We're actually moving some of it in this month. Exercise equipment in the downstairs, for instance. I just ordered, I told them to release these signage for the court. The canopy's going up right now this week. And the signage for that is Martinsville Police Headquarters. So Martinsville on one phase, police, the big letters in the middle, headquarters on the sides, surrounding side of it. So we anticipate starting like final cleanup the second week of December. And it's a matter of the police department getting everything delivered into there, because there's quite a bit of questions to come forward right now. The question came up today, what kind of signage do you want on the door? Do you want something on every office, or do you want it in the hallway? So there's a lot of details to work out, but it's something to do.
Any comments from the public this evening?
Hi, everyone. Relative to my coverage for the last meeting, if you'll recall, I nearly died choking, and so I had to leave the meeting for a few minutes. We were in the heart of the discussion on the signage. When I got back, I was trying to play catch up, and we were in the middle of a vote. I just apologized to Councilman Farron because I misunderstood what the vote was. My coverage reflected my misunderstanding, and so I certainly apologize to Councilman Farron, but to everybody else, certainly accuracy is the name of the game. So feel free, when you see such an egregious misrepresentation, to reach out. Mr. McGee confirmed that I was grossly inaccurate in my conclusions on the sign write-up, so I appreciate that, sir. But with that, yeah, it's too late to get a correction this week. By nature of this evening's discussion, we will certainly pick up on that signage stuff, but I'll also get a correction in next week. So I want to offer my apologies. Thank you. And I am still alive, however.
Next regular meeting of the Common Council will be on Monday, November 25th at 7 o'clock here in the council chambers. We're in executive session next Monday, 4 o'clock at the fire headquarters. So if nothing else coming forward, we're adjourned.